Formula One stands at the pinnacle of motorsport, so you would expect the drivers to be the very best available. But it has not always given a chance to the drivers that deserve to be there. The high cost of the sport has required drivers to bring sponsorship with them, some bringing more than others. This is the reason we sometimes see talented drivers miss out, as they do not have the funds of others. But this has always been the case, and that is unlikely to change anytime soon. Anyone who makes it to Formula One has great ability. With the introduction of the Super License in 2016, which prevents drivers that have not met a required standard from entering, we will not see any that are clearly nowhere near the standard again. So all the drivers on this list are very capable, but not necessarily at Formula One level. Here are the current drivers in 2021 that do not merit their place on the grid, and why. Starting off, we have Nikita Mazepin of Haas. Driving for a team cut off at the back of the grid is a very tough ask for anyone. All drivers can only be compared to their teammates to fairly judge their performance, but especially so when you clearly have the slowest car. Therefore, Mazepin must at least come close to Mick Schumacher and occasionally beat him to merit his place in F1. So far he has not achieved this. Every qualifying session Schumacher has completed a lap has seen Schumacher ahead, the exceptions being Monaco and Hungary, where he did not set a lap due to crashes in final practice. The average qualifying margin between the teammates is the largest on the grid at nearly half a second between their fastest laps. In the races this has continued, with Schumacher finishing ahead 9 times to Mazepin's 2. Mazepin's record in the lower categories is not bad, but it does not suggest he is going to outperform the other drivers on the grid either. His standout result being second in the 2018 GP3 series. In reality he is here to stay though, with his father's investment in the team through Uralkali, so this should give him time to get more comfortable with the car and improve. Although in my conclusion there are many better drivers not in the sport who deserve to be there more than Mazepin from a purely driving perspective. Next is Nicholas Latifi of Williams. I believe Latifi is a decent driver who is perhaps harshly viewed due to being a pay driver. With this being said, F1 is not for decent drivers, they are meant to be the best. Even though he has not done a terrible job, he has not been able to live with George Russell. Not many will live with Russell, but to be deserving of a place in F1 and staying there you need to give your teammates some challenge no matter who they are. Latifi has not really come close to doing this. He has finished ahead in some races, but only when Russell has had issues, and his qualifying record is poor. Russell has outqualified him for all 27 races they have been teammates, and Russell has progressed beyond Q1 19 times to Latifi's 2 since the start of the 2020 season. Latifi does have more points than Russell after they both finished in the top 10 at Hungary, but this is not a true reflection of pace. This race was hugely disrupted by crashes and weather, which put the whole grid out of any order. Of course, the drivers that benefited from this still deserve credit for using this to their advantage. His record in the junior categories is quite average, but there is a second place in Formula 2 standing out as an impressive result. Overall, Latifi is a good racing driver, but as with Mazepin there are far better drivers out there who are not getting the chance. Kimi Raikkonen is one of the best drivers of his generation. In the early 2000s he was one of the biggest challenges to Michael Schumacher, and he was unlucky to not win the title in 2003. Although he did become world champion in 2007. Unfortunately though, he has stayed too long. At 41 years of age he adds value to the team with his experience, and he has beaten his teammate in races more often than not this season, but he is slowing down, shown by the qualifying head-to-head, and he has been involved in some very strange crashes in Portugal and Austria. In his day he was one of the fastest and most exciting drivers in the sport, but surely he cannot stay beyond this season. It is time for a younger driver to come through in his place. Staying with Alfa Romeo, we have Antonio Giovinazzi. Like Latifi, I think Giovinazzi is a decent driver who does a reasonable job, although for different reasons. But again, it is not enough for Formula One. He has relied on his Ferrari Driver Academy connection to be in the sport, and perhaps their want of an Italian driver at the top level. He has good speed and has out-qualified Raikkonen this season 8-3. But in the races he disappears and has lost out 6-5 to Raikkonen. This is despite his excellent record of making up positions on the opening lap of Grand Prix. But if you want to prove you are worthy to stay in F1, you cannot be beaten by a 41-year-old teammate who is only there for a hobby. He must consistently beat Raikkonen to deserve his place. His record in junior Formula is good, showing he has deserved the chance in Formula One, but he has not shown enough and has been in the background too often. I can see him keeping his seat for next season providing Raikkonen does leave the sport, as Alfa may want to keep some stability moving into the new regulation cars. But then he will have to perform better against a new teammate or he will surely be gone. Lastly is Yuki Tsunoda of AlphaTauri. This may be slightly harsh and I could easily be proven wrong over the coming seasons. I think Tsunoda is more than capable of being a successful Formula One driver, but he needed more experience before being promoted. He has been thrown into the deep end and his early performances have shown this with his inconsistency and number of crashes. He would have benefited from another season in F2, but due to the way the Red Bull driver program has gone through drivers, he was promoted early. Tsunoda's record this season does not stack up well against his teammate Pierre Gasly. Gasly is a top-class driver with a Grand Prix win and more than 3 years of experience under his belt, and Tsunoda may be pushing too hard to match him and he's overdriving the car. Their qualifying head-to-head is 11-0 in Gasly's favor and races are 8-3 to Gasly. This adds up to 50 points to Tsunoda's 18. Tsunoda's performance in Formula 2 was excellent and the momentum he built up made it an easier decision for Red Bull to put him in their sister team, but he only had one season each in Formula 2 and Formula 3. A bit of stability may have added valuable experience and calmed his approach. He has been slightly wild and shown petulance over the radio a number of times already. With Red Bull's approach to developing their own drivers, Tsunoda's performance must be a worry. Considering Gasly was dropped by Red Bull halfway through the 2019 season and he appears to have no way back to the main Red Bull team, this does not bode well for Tsunoda making his way into that seat. In his favor, Red Bull seem to have realized the error of their ways in dealing with their young drivers. After the difficulties experienced by Gasly and Alex Albon with the Red Bull car, they have gone with an experienced outsider in Sergio Perez for this season. Perhaps the management have accepted they will have to take a more patient approach before promoting drivers. That being said, if Tsunoda does not perform, there are a number of Red Bull-backed drivers performing well in other categories. In Formula 2 are Liam Lawson and Yuri Vips impressing, and Alex Albon will be keen to make his way back after a season in DTM. In conclusion, Tsunoda is one I believe to be in F1 too early, but he is capable of overcoming this and proving himself at this level.